And folks, welcome back. Another year, another Yuletide cheer coming your way from the Boombastic folks. This is the old Yuletide. You got Kenji in the building here. This is the old Yuletide Christmas adventure, so Merry Christmas, everybody. Good to see you all again. Alex, how you doing over there, Bubba?
Oh, I'm good. I got my little elf hat on, got my ears sticking out, got my, it's too hot for the ugly sweater t-shirt. So I got this on. Yay.
It's definitely hot. We got some across the street. I was telling Alexander the Hawk, one of the neighbors' house is burning. Fire departments out there doing it. Kenji dog the reindeer over here. Hopefully he'll behave himself. I know that he gets all rambunctious when when there's fire breaking out around him. He's afraid to get burnt up with something. But if I have to dip out for any reason, I know Alexander Hawk can keep it going and flowing. It'll be a beautiful thing. You know what I
Whoa,
mean?
hold on. I didn't agree to this, dude.
It's in your contract, yes, that you signed in blood.
Oh, hold on. I signed no contract, buddy boy.
You know you signed the contract in blood. Get out of here with that. So yeah, today we got some great guests coming with us. You know what I mean? We'll let them kind of unravel as surprises a little bit because you never know what Santa Claus will leave for you. But you also don't want to be expecting a gift and then it not show up. That's a big bummer on Christmas. You know what I mean? So we got a fine assortment of fine fellows and fellettes coming through to join us for this Christmas endeavor. You know what I mean? What's your favorite part about Christmas, Alexander Hulk?
Oh, my favorite part of Christmas. Well, I would say just being with family, honestly. And the sad point about being, in retail for as long as I have, that a lot of the magic and wonder has been kind of beaten out of me. But
Hmm.
uh, being with family, spending time with the family, and just remembering how lucky you are to have them.
I wholeheartedly agree with that fully. The answer I was looking for was BoomBastic's Yuletide Christmas special. But even more so, Family Ding Dong, Friendslings, you know what I mean? It's all a good thing. It's always a pleasure. But I'm with you right there. Yeah. The family, hanging with the family, the friends, you know what I mean? Some people might say it's getting the gifts. I mean, the gifts are fun, but it's the memories that you make and take with
You
you along
you
the
you know
journey.
what's funny? I mean, and being younger, was all about the presents and all that. I mean, like for example, this year, I have absolutely no interest in getting anything,
Oh,
and
really?
I'm not just saying that. It's like, eh,
You'll love what
and
I got you then. You know what I mean?
a hearty handshake and a
That'd be
pat on
great.
the back.
Pat on your buttocks. Very fitting for this year. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're thankful for a whole bunch of things. BoomBasticAST and all the shows on it doing big times. It's very nice. The podcasting things beautifully floating into a winter wonderland. You know what I mean? We got the new flick that we just popped off with. Principal photography is wrapped up on that. We got a couple small daily things to pop into once the weather gets a little better. But for the most part, it's almost pretty much in the can, which is a blessing and a beautiful thing. And we can't wait to show the public and all you folks out there what's going down. You know what I mean? Very good stuff. Very good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, I guess without further ado, since we're very boring people, let's bring in our first guest of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, you might have remember this dude from our first ever BoomBasticAST official interview. You know what I mean? The legendary creator of Roger Rabbit, the one, the only, the magnificent Gary K. Wolf. Welcome to the Yuletide Christmas special. Gary and Roger, welcome to the show.
Hey, nice to be here.
Always good to see
Merry
you.
Christmas to all of you, and to everyone in Toontown, a good night.
Into all the good evening. Very good, very good. I love it. You know, Gary was, I think, our first great guest. We've had a lot of guests, but our first great guest was Gary over here, the King, Gary K. Wolf, doing it big, you know. And we thought, what a great person to bring on for our Christmas special. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. I'm Mr. Christmas. Some of my fondest memories of growing up are Christmas memories. My fondest memories of all time are Christmas memories. So yeah, good.
I agree. Why do we think that those are the, because it's such a, as a child, you know, you, of course, you have the gifts and stuff, and you still love the gifts as an adult, of course, but you know, as you get older, you understand like the true meaning of Christmas, of the gathering, and just the whole vibe of it. It's a beautiful thing, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So some of my fondest memories of Christmas, of course, are the gifts. I can't deny that. But some of my other fond memories are of um, the friendship and the family get-togethers and just the entire spirit of Christmas.
Yeah.
Um, I will tell you I will tell you a story. I'm probably going to be ashamed that I told you afterwards. But my family was German family, Czech. My father was Czech, my mother was German. But we spent the Christmases and holidays with her family, the Germans. And in her family, for every holiday, especially Christmas, um, the kind of oldest young child, like and I think it was 12 years old. If you were 12 years old, um, it was your duty to get a silver tray and take the silver tray around, and the silver tray had a shot for every grown up. All right, and it was your duty on Christmas to give every adult that silver tray with a shot, and the adult would take the Christmas, the thing, and do it and do the shot. So you started doing that when you were 12. Well, when the next youngest one came up and they got to be 12, they took it over. And then the one who had been 12, who was doing it, who was probably by now 14, they got to get the shot.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so my cousin did it for 2 years, and then I turned 12 and I did it for 2 years. And then my next cousin coming up did it for 3 years. So good times, but I'm afraid that probably my parents and all my relatives would be visited by child services today. I don't know.
Nowadays, yeah. What was that? What was the liqueur? Do you remember?
Whiskey,
Whiskey.
shot of whiskey. Yeah, shot of whiskey. And well, this is another Christmas memory. You're going to think my family are all alcoholics, but that's not true. They
You were
were,
good company then.
yeah, they were just fun-loving people. But
Yeah.
we used to go to my grandparents' house for Christmas, and they lived in an area of Chicago, a suburb of Chicago called Cicero. And oddly, my grandmother's house in Cicero was 1913 South 50th. She backed up. There was an alley behind it, and the house on the other side of the alley was 1914 South 49th. She backed up to Al Capone's mother. So yeah, her and Al Capone's mother were besties.
Oh shit.
But I remember going to one Christmas with my folks, and my grandfather, who was not a particularly jovial kind of guy, but he said, "Gary, come here. I want you to run an errand for me." And I was 7 years old, right? So he gave me a nickel and a bucket. And he said, "Here, I want you to run down to the corner saloon, give him this nickel in the bucket, and bring me back a bucket of beer." I'm 7 years old, right? So down the street, into the saloon, which really had swinging doors, although it was winter, and so there were other doors in front of it. But I went in. I 7 years old, I could barely reach up to the bar, put my nickel on the bar and my bucket. bartender filled my bucket with beer, and I brought it home to my grandfather. And for that, I got a little glass of beer, which probably started me down the road to to
Celebration.
on today. You know, I don't I don't drink hard liquor, but I do enjoy an occasional bucket of beer. So
You know, a bucket of beer for a nickel, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know.
I'm afraid to even think about how much if you took the bucket of beer and you put in like, you know, regular bottles they sell now, just imagine how much they cost now.
oh
Like, yeah.
Like $12, 12, $13 worth of beer.
well,
Probably.
you know, I was talking about Christmas with some of my friends, and we were tossing out, you know, what our favorite Christmas presents were. You know, all-time favorite Christmas present. And mine, there's no question, it was something my wife got me. And she got it for me in probably, excuse me, I'm guessing 1981. But she knows that I always wanted a ship in a bottle. And so she went to a nautical antique store and found a ship in a bottle. But not only did she find the ship in a bottle, but the ship in a bottle came with a whole box full of like papers. And so she gave it to me at Christmas. And I looked at that ship in a bottle, and I started reading the papers. And the papers were written by a sea captain, and they were kind of one-sided love letters to this young girl that he was courting. And she obviously wanted nothing to do with him, but he kept sending her these letters, and his name was Jack Swan. And I thought, what a great name for a, you know, sea captain.
Yeah.
And he wrote her all these letters, and then he said, I'm sending you this Christmas present. So this ship in a bottle was his Christmas present to her. And then he sent a picture of himself on the bow of that ship that's in the bottle. I mean, he made a ship in a bottle that was his ship.
Yeah.
And I guess it must have come from probably her estate, because all the letters were from him to her, and I didn't see any letters from her to him. But the last letter that he sent her was just before World War II broke out, and he said, yeah, I'm on a cruise, and there are a lot of young girls, and they love to dance, and they really enjoy the company of a handsome sea captain. And you know, so
Wow.
so I actually, the address on them was to her name was Betty. I can't remember her last name, but she lived in Brooklyn. So I even made a special trip to New York, and I went to that house to see if she or any of her family lived there. But yeah, they were long gone. But I've still got that. I've still got that ship in a bottle. Still look at it every day, and I've still got all the documentation on it, all the letters that he wrote, and I have several pictures of him. There's one of him with his ship. There's one of him in his Navy uniform. There's one of him in a Model T Ford. But I love that kind of stuff, and my wife
Yeah.
knows I love that kind of stuff. So that was a special one for me.
Very cool. I wonder if
Yeah.
that last letter was his way of like breaking it off with the girl.
I think so. Yeah, it really had that. Yeah, it was kind of like, you know, you don't want me, I don't want you either.
Right. Well, if she wasn't writing them back, or it could have been more like, I mean, if you're on a ship, there you probably just write them and then they pile up, and then you ship them out when you get to.
Well, it
where
could be. Yeah, it
danger
could be.
is.
You know, I tried really hard to find something about him, because he was in the Merchant Marine, and the Merchant Marine got conscripted. Those guys got conscripted in the Navy in World War II, and you know, as a ship captain. But his ship was a sailing ship. It
Yeah.
wasn't I mean, it was a four-masted schooner, and So I don't know what he was gonna do in the Navy in World War II, but I could never find out anything about him or about her. But I got to ship in a bottle, and that's my best Christmas present ever.
I appreciate that.
Mm.
Yeah, the ships and the bottles are really cool. You know, we're in Massachusetts over by like kind of the Cape and the Plymouth area.
Mhm.
That stuff's everywhere. It's almost like the history of the land, you know what I mean?
She's shipping a bottle country down there.
Yeah,
And I mean, my wife knows how much I love that kind of stuff. And I even at one point wanted to make my own. This was before she gave me that. I wanted to make my own. So I took a ship in a bottle class, you know, a class on how to make a ship in a bottle. And I have no physical dexterity. I mean, it's a ship in a bottle. I could not do it. But the way they do it is just amazing. I mean, they get the bottle and then they make the ship, and they make the ship so that it's all a ship, but it's long and skinny. And then they put the whatever the fake ocean in, and that starts out as a liquid, and then it solidifies, and then they put glue on that, and then they put the ship through the neck of the bottle, and there's a string, actually a thread, on the end of the prow of the ship. Then when they get it in, they put it down in the glue, and they wait until it solidifies so it's not going to move, and then they pull the string back, and all of the masts go up and turn and boom and open and boom. And then they cut off the string and put a cork in it. And it's amazing. Yeah.
It is. Well, it's magic. You look at them in the bottle and you go, how did they do this? It's like one of those, it's almost optical illusion in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your favorite Christmas song?
Baby, it's cold outside. Even though it's
gotten some,
out.
that's gotten some bad press lately.
That's why I like it, because rock and roll. It's a rock and roll one. Punk rock.
Yeah, that's mad for you. I mean, he doesn't like it unless it's taboo.
It's the first one I could think of.
Taboo of all Christmas songs.
Well, I gotta go with the A side of the Beach Boys Christmas album. The B side was all Christmas carols, but the A side was Little Saint Nick, and all the Beach Boys stuff except Christmas. And I gotta go with that one.
That is a good one. I've got big into records again, and I got like, you know, some older like cartoony Christmas, like some Snoopy Christmas stuff, you know.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I get down with that, definitely. What was a good one?
You know, I'll tell you. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, just going with the Snoopy's Christmas, I actually got, and I think even Matt be excited about this. My parents have the original vinyl that Snoopy Christmas was on. We listen to Snoopy Christmas all the time. It's one of my favorite, you know, Christmas music. But also, I forget the singer, but there's another Christmas song called Darcy the Dragon, which is
Darcy. That's a new one.
Yeah, it's actually I think it's an old one, and the whole thing is, it starts off about, you know, Darcy the Dragon comes from the woods to buy Christmas presents, but every time he opens his mouth, he can't help but start a fire. And and the first time he does it, you know, they forgive him, they try to give him, and then again he tries to buy another Christmas present and he sets a fire again, and everyone chases him out of town. And then of course he goes up to the woods, and he's so upset that he opens his mouth wide, and all the snow comes down and it quenches the fire inside him. So he can then, you know, go back, and everyone rejoices because the fire is no longer in his belly, so he can, you know, buy the presents without, you know, setting a fire. I think it's kind of,
That's a pretty twisted Christmas story, but I'm loving it. So I'll give you a Charles Schulz Snoopy story. When I was writing Roger Rabbit, I was living in San Mateo, California. And somebody told me, they said, hey, you know, there's this guy, Charles Schultz. He's a cartoonist, and he lives just next town over in Burlingame. And there was only about a 10-block walk. I mean, I live right on the border. And so I went over once, and he had a little studio, a little house in Burlingame. And I knocked on the door, introduced myself, and he was just the nicest guy. And showed me what he was working on. And I told him I was a writer, and I told him what I was working on. And he was really taken with the idea of Toontown and cartoons in a real world. And we chatted for probably an hour that first day. And then he said, come on, come back whenever you want. And I used to go over there, oh, gee, every week or so, I'd go over and visit with him and bounce some ideas off him, see what he thought. And he was just the nicest guy. And then he did Charlie Brown Christmas. And he said, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be on TV, and, you know, Coca-Cola is sponsoring it, and, you know, this is going to be a big deal. And so I found this out from him later, that he chose to use, instead of voice actors, he chose to use kids. And the voices in Charlie Brown's Christmas are real kids' voices. They're not voice actors playing kids. And he got Vince Guaraldi to do the score. And Vince Guaraldi was a very famous jazz artist. It still is a very famous jazz artist. But that was really, really odd for any kind of a program back then, let alone a Christmas program.
Yeah.
And so they screened it for the network executives, and there was silence, just nothing. And the network executive says, we can't run this. Nobody's going to watch this. We can't run this. And so they were going to shelve it and never show it. But Coca-Cola stepped up and said, hey, wait a minute, you know, we paid for it, and we paid for the time, run it. And if nobody watches it, well, nobody watches it, but run it. Well, they watched it, and like it was the most watched TV program of the year. And it's run every year since. So I think the lesson you learn there is, what do TV executives know? You know.
Exactly. Yeah. The peanut.
One other thing for all you local guys, when I was living in San Mateo, I love football. You know, I'm a big football guy. And I heard about this kid who was playing football for San Mateo High, who was the quarterback of the San Mateo High football team. So I used to go over on Friday nights and watch this kid play football. Well, it was a kid named Tom Brady. Haven't heard much from him since, but I understand.
Yeah, I think we might know it, Tom Brady.
You know, I should have, if I had known better, I should have had him autograph a football back then.
Sure, for sure. Yeah. You know, the peanut stuff, those they've become Americana, you know what I mean? They got the Thanksgiving one, they have the Christmas one. I remember every year for like an 8-year stretch, I would get like a Snoopy. It was like an ice machine type deal for like snow cones. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
that was like a big item, and it was like a cheese grater metal thing. And you would drop ice cubes into it, and you would crank it and grind the ice down into the little thing. Yeah, that's
Boy,
great.
I could go a Slurpee right now. I'll tell you.
Oh yeah, Slurpees all around. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. As a kid, what any gifts that pop out from childhood that you maybe didn't think you were gonna get and were surprised with, or
Yeah, you know, I mean, my folks were really poor. They did not have a lot of money. And so I never expected anything. I never wrote a list to Santa Claus asking Santa for anything, because we didn't have enough money. I wasn't going to get it.
Yeah.
But the present that I got, that I liked the best, that I remember the most, my my folks gave me a book, a little bitty book, and inside were like vouchers for 10 tickets to the movies. In the local theater, the price of admission was 10 cents. So 10, this was $1, right? I got $1, but it was the best present I ever got because I could go to the movies anytime I wanted. And I
Yeah.
didn't have to ask my mom for a dime, and I didn't have to go with my folks. I could just go anytime I wanted. And it was the best present I ever got. I'll tell you a really kind of eerie Christmas story, if you want a Christmas story. When I was a kid, I was living in a town called Earlville, Illinois. And every year at Christmas, my mother would take me up to Chicago to Marshall Fields, which is the big department store. And I would get my picture taken with Santa Claus every year. And I mean, I love this. This was so much fun because we'd have dinner at a Chinese restaurant afterwards, of which there were none in Earlville or any place closer than Chicago. So it was a lot of fun for me. So one year, it was probably 8 or 9. One year we were in line, and I was in line, and my mother couldn't be in line with me, the only kids in line. So I get up to the front, and the elf takes me and brings me up to Santa Claus, and he grabs some little girl who's behind me because he thinks that we're together. And so me and this little girl are up there, and she's kind of sitting on Santa's lap, and she's terrified. And I'm looking up at Santa and the little girl like, what the hell is going on here? And they take the picture, and boom, adios amigo. So, you know, in those days, it wasn't digital, it was a picture, and my mother had to pay. She didn't see the picture. I mean, she didn't even see the picture being taken, but she would pay for the picture, and then they would send her a picture later. So she got a copy of the picture, and she opened it up, and here's me and this little girl. And she said, who's the little girl? I said, no idea. So you fast forward, oh God, 30 years, right? So
Yeah.
my wife, our Christmas card one year, and my wife comes up with these great ideas, and she said, you know, it'd be a great idea. It's just, did you ever have your picture taken with Santa Claus? I said, yeah, every year. She says, well, get a picture of you with Santa Claus, because I've got a picture of me with Santa Claus, and we'll use those 2 pictures for our Christmas card. I said, that's great. So I pull out this picture of me with this little girl. She pulled out the same picture.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it turned out that she was in a Navy family,
Yeah.
and they were traveling from Bethesda, Maryland to California because they were assigned to Adak, Alaska, and they were going to catch a boat and go up to Alaska. So they were traveling cross country, and they were in Chicago at Christmas. And my wife's mother said, well, it'd be really nice to take Bonnie up and have her picture taken with Santa Claus. So she went to Marshall Fields, and she was right behind me in line. And that was her. Yeah.
That is crazy.
That-
That's a crazy
yeah.
story.
Yeah.
I mean, that is definitely a. It's funny because it's kind of like it shows how people, you know, who are meant to be together, can very easily pass, you know, like ships in the night, just passing by.
Well, you know, then we started comparing notes. I mean, we started comparing notes, and it turns out that I went to Vietnam in 1966, and I had to stop off in Hawaii for like 3 weeks of commando training in the jungle. So every night I would go to the officers club at Pearl Harbor, and you know, I remember it because they had this waitress who wore a really low cut muumuu or whatever they were wearing, and I used to over tip her.
Yeah.
But I went every night, and it turns out that my wife, who was a Navy brat, her father was stationed at Pearl Harbor, and she was in the officers club every night, although she was there with Marines and you know, other guys. But we were in the same place at the same time for at least a week every night. And then later, when I was in Vietnam, I went on R&R to Hong Kong and stayed at the Palace Hotel. I can't remember, big hotel. I stayed there. My wife had gone to Hong Kong to meet the Marine she was dating, who actually dumped her. After she got there, he just knocked on the door and said, "Hey, this isn't going to work. Goodbye," and left. And so she spent a week in Hong Kong. I spent a week in Hong Kong in the same hotel, in rooms that were across the hall from each other. Okay. Now, this is getting weird, right?
Yeah.
And then she was an airline stewardess for American Airlines. And one Christmas, I flew home I was stationed at Hanscom Field in Massachusetts. I flew home from Massachusetts to my folks' place in Illinois. I flew home to O'Hare Field on an airplane, and she was a stewardess on that airplane, although she was in first class and I was in coach. And she probably said hello to me when I came on and goodbye to me when I left, but we never met. Until finally we got together, and sometimes it's just fate. Yeah, it's just a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, yeah. I thought you were gonna say that the girl in the picture was a ghost when you first met. So I was like, oh, geez.
well, I don't even want to go there.
Yeah. Well, we'll go more. We'll say that the guy that came to the door, it was just, she got a letter from him. We'll say she got a letter. He was a boat captain, and
Well, that would be a pretty good story if there really had been no little girl. If she just, I've been up there by myself, and when we got the picture, there was a little girl, but she was a ghost. That would be a pretty good story too.
Dang. I know you brought up Vietnam. None of us thank you for your service, first of all. And what was like? I'm sure you were there for the holidays and stuff. What was like the vibe of like a Christmas on Vietnam?
I don't talk about Vietnam much, and I think about it even less.
We don't have to.
Yeah, but that's a question that nobody's ever asked me, but I will answer it. I have no memory whatsoever of any holiday. I have no memory of any holiday in Vietnam. I don't remember Thanksgiving. I don't remember Christmas. We didn't have access, and this was before Armed Forces Radio came around. Good Morning Vietnam, that wasn't on when I was here. I was early days. There were only about 10,000 guys there when I was here. And so they didn't play music. The only music we heard was Vietnamese music. So there were no holiday music. There were no bases when I was there. I had to live on the economy. I had to rent what the Vietnamese called a villa and what we would call slum housing from Vietnamese, and had to live on the economy. So there were no officers clubs you could go to that would decorate for Christmas. The only Christmas story that I can remember, one of the guys says, "Hey, it's Christmas. Let's get some beer." And of course, me and beer, I'm up for that. Yeah. So we went down to the docks. My base was in the Trang, which was on the South China Sea. And we went down to the docks, and they had a supply boat that came in and then unloaded stuff. And they brought in beer for the troops. But it's another story. The beer never made it to the troops. The beer somehow got siphoned off, and you could find American beer in the Vietnamese bars, but you couldn't find it in the PX. It was getting siphoned off. So another story. But every time they would bring some beer in, they bring it in on pallets, and every now and then a pallet would fall off and break. So they would take the beer on those pallets and put it into what we call Beer Mountain. And they had this huge mountain of beer, had to be 75 feet high, a mountain of beer, right? Of all loose cans.
Yeah.
And so you could go to Beer Mountain and get as much beer as you wanted for a nickel a can. Now you got to remember that this beer has been sitting out in the tropical sun for who knows how long.
Yeah.
So you're taking your chances, but a nickel a can, and it's the only beer you could get. So we went down to Beer Mountain to get some beer for Christmas. And my buddies and I, we were pretty adept at tunneling, because we would sometimes have to go into the tunnels in Vietnam and, do stuff. So we were pretty adept at tunneling. So we figured the best beer was going to be in the middle, and it would be the coolest because so we built a little tunnel, and we tunneled into Beer Mountain, right? And we tunneled and we tunneled and we tunneled. And eventually we struck the beer equivalent of gold. We found an entire broken pallet of Coors, which, I mean, everybody drinks Coors now. I mean, it's everywhere. But in 1967, that was a mystical beer. I mean, it was only west of the Rockies, and, I mean, Paul Newman drank Coors, but we had never even seen it. Oh, we just heard of it. And we found an entire pallet of it, so we excavated, and we took out as much as we could, nickel a can. I think we spent like $50 and a nickel a can on all this beer and brought it home. And our villa had a refrigerator. And so we were put the Coors in the refrigerator, cool it off. But the refrigerator had about this much ice on the ice compartment. And we said, we got to defrost this refrigerator so that it really works. And so it was up to me to defrost it, right? And so typical way my mother used to defrost refrigerators, you unplug it, and you put hot water in it, and you just wait for 8 hours until everything melts off. But I wanted my cold beer. So I did unplug it, but I took my combat knife and chipped the ice, right? And when I was chipping the ice, I chipped the little tube with the Freon in it. And so there goes the refrigerator, there goes my cold beer, and there goes my relationship with my 3 roommates. I thought they were going to kill me. So that could have been the worst Christmas of my life. But it actually turned around, because by New Year, another ship came in, and for some unknown reason, it had a pallet of refrigerators. And so we went down and grabbed a refrigerator and plugged it in, and we still had some Coors left.
Hell yeah. Yeah, warm beer can get to you. Can do special things to you, yeah. Make you throw up quicker than you would.
The other holiday, I mean, it's not Christmas, but it's kind of a holiday, was Tet, which is the big Vietnamese kind of New Year holiday, 4th of July, all put together.
Yeah, they blend them together. Yeah,
they kind of blend them together. Yeah, it was a huge deal. I mean, Tet holiday was a big deal. I think it was around the first of the year. I can't remember, but when I was over there, they celebrated Tet, and of course everybody had guns. They celebrated Tet by shooting guns up in the air, boom, 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 boom. And so it were tracer bullets, and and I guess that what I didn't think of, and I'm sure they didn't think of, was that the bullet goes up, and then it turns around and it comes back down, and it comes back down just as fast as it went up.
yeah.
So guys were standing in the street corner, boom, getting hit by bullets coming down from above. And I'll digress a little bit, but I was a pretty serious marathon runner, and I've done 38 marathons. I've run the Boston Marathon 16 times, and my wife was down visiting her parents in Washington the weekend of the Marine Corps Marathon, which I'd run twice, but I was here and she was there. And apparently, somebody in Washington was having a little bit of a celebration and shot a gun off in the air, and the gun went up and came down and hit a runner. The bullet hit a runner,
Oh,
and he didn't realize that he'd been shot because he didn't hear a gunshot. And all of a sudden, he just felt something, and he kept running, and he finished the marathon. And when he finished the marathon, they said, "Hey, your back is bleeding," and they looked, and he'd been shot. And my wife called me and told me this story. And dedicated marathon runner. My first question to her was, "Well, what was his time?"
nice.
And she said, "I don't know." She says, looked around, says, "Daddy, what was his time?" And her father was a Navy lieutenant commander. Said, "The guy got shot, and he's asking what his time was." Yeah.
Did he survive?
Yeah, oh yeah, I survived it, and actually had a pretty good time. I think he was about 350. So
Maybe it improved him. You little pep in his step. Like something bit me, yeah.
couldn't hurt.
My goodness. Well, I know you said that you're a big movie fan. You're excited to get those booklets. Do you have any like favorite Christmas movie that you definitely make sure you watch every year?
I like Love Actually.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of sappy, and I've watched it so many times. There are parts of it that I like a lot,
Yeah.
and there are parts of it that are, nowadays kind of cringy. And but I still watch it every year. I mean, it's my Christmas go-to movie. And I'm thinking, is there an animated? I can't think of an animated movie. I've watched
Like,
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer maybe twice. I've watched Charlie Brown a couple of times. But
the
I
Christmas story?
I try and watch Christmas movies during Christmas because I like it. I'm a softie. But
Yeah,
now
yeah.
so many of them are Hallmark movies, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was the president of Disney Pictures when Roger was made. He was probably the guy who's most responsible for getting the movie made. But he had a saying that said, as soon as you sit down and watch the first scene of a movie, you should know how that movie ends, which seems a little cynical to me. But now I find I can watch a Hallmark movie, and as soon as I see the first scene, I know how it's going to end. So
That's
She's
like
gonna end up with a guy wearing flannel. That's for sure.
at
She's
the end,
gonna
yeah,
end up
the
with a guy
red and
wearing
green
flannel.
flannel. Yeah.
the lumberjack.
Yeah.
We often talk about, make it, because we make indie films and just making them, you pick them apart while you watch them. And I always try to figure out where they're going to go. Cause your typical, especially a Hallmark movie, is pretty cut and paste. You know what I mean? They don't really go out they don't push the envelope too much. So it's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, I agree with that. It's unfortunate that you can tell, but I agree with you. You shouldn't be able to, with good film at least.
Well, yeah, I don't think so. I mean, nobody knew how Roger Rabbit was going to end. I mean, nobody knew how Roger Rabbit was going to begin.
Yeah.
So that was good. I'll tell you my favorite all-time movie, the one that I watch only when I am really depressed and really need a lift, is Singing in the Rain. I mean, I can watch Singing in the Rain. Well, I have to ration myself now. Only when I'm depressed. And yeah, like my wife and I are having a bad week or a bad month or whatever, and I'll look at her and I say, "Singing in the Rain," and she says, "Nah, not yet. It's not bad enough yet. Let's let it get a little worse."
Yeah.
And that one too. We know all the good parts and all the bad parts, and not bad parts. There are no bad parts, but the parts that are not particularly uplifting, and we zip through them. But
Yeah.
no, I just decorated my Christmas tree. Whoa, I lost track of how many Roger and Jessica ornaments. I've got a ton of Roger and Jessica ornaments. They did. Disney, for some reason, goes wacko with Roger and Jessica stuff for Christmas. There's a lot of Jessica, a lot of Roger Christmas ornaments this year. There's one where him busting through the Maroon Tunes logo, which is really nice. There's a lot of Jessica Christmas ornaments, and they're kind of interesting because in almost all of them, she's sitting on a glass bell. And two things. First of all, the glue holding her to that glass bell is sometimes less than desirable, and she sometimes falls off the glass bell. But also it's very fragile. Those glass bells get broken really, really easily. So if you got one on your Christmas tree, keep the cat away from it, because I'm telling you.
Actually, it's funny because when when Roger came out, one of the things that I got a bunch of was the Roger Rabbit keychains.
Oh yeah, the one with the handcuffs. Did you get the one with the handcuffs?
Yes. I have
Classic.
one of those. And it's funny because I got a few of those, and those are my Christmas ornaments. I still have them to this day. I
Great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
And of course, my favorite is the one with him with the handcuffs. Just
Great idea. Well, you were talking about when the movie came out. I mean, it came out in July, but that was a good year for Roger merchandise at Christmas. When the movie came out, they premiered it at Radio City Music Hall in New York City, and my wife and I were there, of course, and everybody in the theater, all the VIPs were talking about, geez, you got to go over to Macy's. They got Roger Rabbit merchandise for sale. And, for me, I mean, this was my baby. This was my project, my Boomie, my name on the credits, my characters. And I just couldn't imagine that anybody would have made merchandise with my characters. This is incredible. And so the next day, my wife and I went over to Macy's, and I went into Macy's and said to the woman at the front desk, I said, "Do you have Roger Rabbit merchandise for sale?" She says, "Yes." I said, where is it? She says, "Second floor." I said, "Oh, we're on the second floor." She looked at me, she says, "Second floor." So I go up, and the entire second floor is Roger Rabbit merchandise.
Yeah.
And it was as far as you could see everywhere. And I had told my wife, I said, if there's stuff to sell there with Roger Rabbit on it, I'm gonna buy the first thing I see. It's gonna be good luck for me. I'm gonna buy the first thing I see. And I got off the elevator, and the first thing I saw was a Roger Rabbit lunchbox.
Oh yeah.
And it was red with Toontown on the front, had a thermos inside, and it cost $2.95, and I bought it. And I'm just sorry that I didn't see, like the Jumbo Roger, or one of the really neat Wendy Gell pins, or something really spectacular. But I still got the lunchbox, and so I'm walking through the aisles looking at the Roger merchandise, and it's everywhere. There's just every kind of Roger merchandise you can imagine. And I bump into Charlie Fleischer. And Charlie Fleischer is the voice of Roger Rabbit, of course. And Charlie's checking out the merchandise just like I'm checking out the merchandise. I said, "Charlie, you getting a piece of this?" He said, "Yeah, everything with my voice on it." And he says, "You getting a piece of it?" I says, "Yeah, everything." And he got down on his knees and bowed to me. Whoa. And I said, "Charlie," I said, "you got to do something for me." I said, so I picked up a Roger Rabbit doll, and it was a talking Roger Rabbit doll. Pulled the string, and it was Charlie's voice. And I said, "You got to sign this doll for me." And so he signed the doll for me, and it is the first piece of Roger Rabbit merchandise that Charlie signed after the movie came out as Roger Rabbit. And he signed the foot, Charlie Fleischer, with his little drawing, and did a little something else on the other foot. And I still got it. I've got that, and I've got the lunchbox. Oh.
Yeah, I remember that year. I remember what you're talking. I knew it was going to be the whole floor because I remember going to our local toy store and it just being everywhere. You know what I mean? Like I had the pull cord. It was like the same Roger right next to you, but smaller, if I remember correctly. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? The action figures galore. I wish I had the action figures today. The cab was probably my favorite one. I loved that cab, dude. It was so cool.
Yeah. And you know, that it was a golden era because that stuff you know, the nice thing about it was all quality stuff. There was nothing cheap. I mean, it wasn't cheap to buy it. It wasn't cheaply made. It was all really, really high quality stuff. And you know, I've pulled that string with Charlie's voice on it probably 600 times. You know, every time somebody comes over, I say, "Hey, want to hear Charlie's voice?" And he says, "Gee, I just flew in. I just flew in from Pittsburgh, and boy, are my arms tired." And then he says, "Hey, it's raining cats and dogs," or something like that. I can't remember. But over the years, the only one I get is I'm flying in from Pittsburgh, and boy, are my arms tired. I don't know. He's got three, but the rest of them got lost in translation somehow. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a good Christmas. That was a good Christmas.
You know, the Roger Rabbit and the Toontown, everything. Great merchant, like perfect prime real estate for merchandise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so many cool stuff there to do with it. Has there ever been talk of rebooting it? Because I mean, a new generation would love it just as much. You know what I mean? That there's still
Oh
love
yeah,
the older
yeah,
one.
yeah. You know, I think when the movie came out, I mean, we didn't really know if this was going to be an adult movie or a children's movie or what it was going to be. Which is why Disney wanted it to come out with the Walt Disney Pictures logo on it. But it had some, you know, Disney, it was going to be rated PG-13, and Disney had never released anything under the Walt Disney Studios logo that wasn't a G. So they came up with the Touchstone logo, Touchstone Company, just to release Roger Rabbit.
Interesting.
And you know, we didn't know if it was going to be an adult movie or a children's movie. Originally, the movie was longer. There were scenes in it that were in the movie, but rule of thumb was that if it's a children's movie, it can't be longer than 90 minutes. And the first cut of the movie came out around an hour and 50 minutes. So they cut about 20 minutes out of the movie to make it 90 minutes in case it was going to be a children's movie, right?
Yeah.
Which it turned out it was a children's movie, but it was also an adult movie. And you know, the progression of it when it came out, it was the highest grossing movie of the year, made over $100 million that year. And then later it was the second movie that Steve Spielberg was the producer, so he had the rights to decide this. Steven Spielberg said, "I am never going to release a movie on video cassette because that's contrary to the film code. You know, I'm a director, and my movie should be seen on the screen." Well, he finally relented and released E.T. and made $1 billion. And so he said, "Well, you know, maybe we'll do Roger Rabbit too." So they released Roger Rabbit on actually VHS. And what happened then was the people who saw it when it came out saw it again, and they bought it and they saw it again. And then they started using it as a babysitter. They started showing it to their kids.
Yeah.
So their kids saw it. And then when it came out on DVD, same thing happened again. You know, except now it was the kids who saw it again, and they showed it to their kids. And so it's become an evergreen. And in the course of time, it was 1988, so it's been what, 35 years. The last income statement I saw, it's grossed over $1 billion. And even in Hollywood, $1 billion is not chump change. I mean,
Right,
that's
right.
a significant money, even in Hollywood. And the feeling is that money eventually conquers all, and that even, you know, a sequel, even to an older movie, generally makes about 3/4 of what the original made, if it's any good. So the feeling is that eventually there will come a time when Disney was in the same situation they were in when they brought it out in the first place. They had produced a string of flops. They were not being taken seriously as a movie house anymore. They were on the verge of losing money. They needed something to kind of jumpstart the studio, and that was Roger Rabbit. And I can kind of see that happening with Disney again.
Mm,
You know, they're producing movies that are okay, you know, nothing spectacular.
right.
They're getting away from their core audience. They're getting away from the animated movies and going more towards superhero and CGI stuff. And I think there's going to come a time when they're going to need Roger Rabbit to kind of reinvigorate the company. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't give up on it.
I think we will see it eventually, and I know you have more stories to Roger's legacy than just the Who Framed. You know what I mean? There's multiple books.
Oh
and-
yeah, well I've written three, actually four Toontown novels, 3 Roger Rabbit and 1 Jessica Rabbit, and the second Jessica Rabbit novel, who plugged Roger Rabbit, where we standardized on the 4-piece stutter. That one Disney bought for the movies, and you know they still own that. The third one, you know, no, but and then the fourth one is Jessica Rabbit, which was a kind of a labor of love to me. I mean, no pun intended, but I thought that Jessica needed her own book. And so this was my pandemic book. I wrote this during the pandemic. It took me 2.5 years. I had nothing else to do. So I wrote a origin story, and it talks about how this poor, not particularly attractive, mousy girl named Jessica Krumsky, who works at a toy store, goes from that to becoming Jessica Rabbit. And got a lot of surprises. It's an origin story. So it talks about how Jessica becomes Jessica Rabbit, how she meets Roger, where tunes come from, how Toontown came to be, and the whole mythology. And you know, it's got a lot of surprises. It got a lot of what my editor called spit moments, except he didn't say spit. Where you all of a sudden you're reading the book and you say, geez, I didn't see that coming. Man, well, that came right out of left field. And also it's a story. This is a story about Jessica. I mean, Jessica is, I mean, she's ranked as one of the sex symbols of the 80s and maybe one of the sex symbols of all time. And so for me, you know, an old guy, to write a story about the most attractive and appealing woman ever conceived of, I wanted to make sure that I was not going to overly sexualize her, that I was not going to demean her, that I was not going to degrade her intelligence or her allure or make her a toady to the men. So I wanted her to be a strong and self-sufficient woman. And so I have beta readers. I have people who read my stuff when I'm writing it, who can tell me, you know, if I'm on the right track. And so for the Jessica Rabbit book, I picked all women. I had, excuse me, I had 80 women, and I picked the most feminist, militant women I could find. Right? I wanted real militant women here. And they all came back and said, geez, you know, the comment was pretty much the same. I said, gee, you know, Jessica Rabbit is exactly the kind of woman that I've always wanted to be. So successful there. And that one's for sale. They're all for sale on my website, www.garywolf.com. You should go there. You should buy all my books. Everybody should read my books.
Definitely
It
should.
would be a great Christmas present for me, right?
Really,
For everybody.
Gary will throw a signature on there. I got Alexander before we ever had you on the show. I got Alex an autographed book for Christmas. Speaking of Christmas, you know what I mean? Way back when.
I think that's a wonderful idea, and I think everybody in the world should do
I
it.
agree. Too.
So, an interesting story about because this happened about Christmas time too. Interesting story about the cover of the Jessica Rabbit novel. And I'm not giving away any secrets here, but Jessica is human in the book. And so I did not want to use Jessica Rabbit, the cartoon character, on the cover of the book because she's not a cartoon character in the book. She's human. And so I have a guy who designs my book jackets for me. And I went to him and I gave him some ideas of what I wanted, what I wanted to do. And he just couldn't get it. He just couldn't get it. And he kept trying. And I would send him, I'm not an artist, so I couldn't do it myself. And I would send him ideas for, how about this? How about that? He just couldn't get it. And then one day on Facebook, I got this message on Facebook from a guy named Andy Prisney, who's an Italian artist. And he sent me this picture of Jessica, an artistic rendering of Jessica. And it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. It wasn't what I had anticipated. It wasn't what I was talking to my artist about, but it was perfect for the book. And the only thing was that in his version, she was smoking a cigarette. And Jessica doesn't smoke, and I don't condone smoking. And I wrote him back and I said, he asked me, he said, would you post this on your Facebook page? And I wrote him back. I said, I'll do better than that. I said, I'll put it on the cover of my Jessica Rabbit book. But you got to do me one thing. I can't show her smoking. So almost instantly, I don't know what the time difference is between Massachusetts and Italy, but got to be 6-7 hours. I don't know. But almost instantly, he came back and he had changed the cigarette to her holding a glass of champagne. And instead of the smoke, it was bubbles. And it was perfect. And so I said to him, yeah, I said, I'll pay you for it. And he said, oh, I don't want money. He said, yeah, I'm just proud. I said, no. Yeah, I've got to pay you for this. It's legally, if nothing else, I got to pay.
Yeah.
So his book is, his artwork is on the cover of my book. And I think that's a nice story for the fans because I get tons of fan generated artwork. And it just goes to show you, keep sending it, gang, because you're just never going to know where that artwork's going to wind up. And the other thing I get, especially at Christmas, I get this all year, but I get it especially at Christmas. A lot of young women dressed as Jessica Santa Claus. I get a lot of that. And I post all that on my Facebook page too. And you can go to Facebook and, follow me on Facebook. But frankly, if I had known when I wrote this book back in 1980, if I had known back then that there would come a time when every week 35 gorgeous young women would be sending me pictures of themselves in a low-cut red dress, I would have written the book a whole lot sooner. I got to tell you.
I hear you on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah.
Well, I gotta say, I'm listening to you talk about the Jessica Rabbit book. I really think that instead of like, you know how Hollywood is all about sequels and rebooting and all of that. I mean, honestly, I think instead of doing that with Roger, if they took that book, especially, I mean, first of all, it's an origin story and it's not focused on Roger, it's focused on Jessica. And especially with our climate where it's really being pushed, and strong women, strong, putting strong women up front, and giving them a place to speak and to voice themselves. I really think that that would be phenomenal.
I think it was right for the times, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll ask you guys, if we were to do a live action Jessica Rabbit movie, who would play Jessica Rabbit?
Ooh, that's-
Scarlett Johansson.
Anything?
That's who I think of. Yeah.
That's a good
I
choice.
can I can get I can definitely see that. Um,
A lot of guys suggest Christina Hendricks. I think she's got the look and the shape. I think for a project like this, I would like somebody with a little higher visibility.
Okay.
But I'm gonna put that on the back burner, and we're gonna see what we can do with this. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the future, man.
hey, because I mean, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is actually the only movie that I've seen multiple times in the theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, every other. I mean, there's other movies I love and all of that, and I've seen them in the theater. I've seen them multiple times on DVD and all of that. But Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the only one I've seen, I think, at least 4 times in the movie theater, and many more times on DVD and VHS and all that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, I mean, it like going with the whole fact that the question of whether this was a children's story or whether it's an adult, it's both, and it's one of the few movies that just is right on the edge line, which is perfect for, it has a little bit of scariness, a little bit of
Mhm.
unease, and then also you have
Nope.
the childish enjoyment with the cartoon characters and all that. And I think it's a great film for just kind of like almost ushering kids into adulthood.
Yeah,
I
I think
think
you're right. Yeah, I think you're
yeah
right. And I gotta tell you, if I could do a Jessica Rabbit movie, I would do it just to walk into Macy's and go up to the second floor and
Yeah.
see a whole floor full of Jessica merchandise.
Oh yeah.
That would be worth it right there.
yeah
I got a
and-
quick question for you to go with that. I know you said that with Spielberg, they cut 20 minutes out of it to keep it more of like kid friendly.
Mhm.
Was that 20 minutes like darker stuff like Judge Doom? Because that Judge Doom character was super dark.
There was a couple of scenes. First of all, there was a scene of Marvin Acme's funeral that got cut out. And if you read my book, you know that the tunes in my book are cartoon character, are a comic book and comic strip characters, and they talk in word balloons just because I like playing with that. And they had an homage to my book. Felix the cat was standing on the curb when the casket went by, and the casket was being carried by Bozo the clown and Goofy and a bunch of other cartoon characters, and they started laughing, right? And they couldn't stop laughing because that's just what cartoons do.
Yeah.
And as they walked by Felix the cat put up a word balloon that said sob, and that sob turned to tears, came down, got his shoulders and his head all wet, which was my homage to my book. So they cut that out. The other scene they cut out that was much longer was the pig's head scene. And this is where Jessica has done some stuff that makes Eddie suspect that she's involved somehow with Judge Doom in this murder. And so Eddie goes into Toontown the first time before he goes in at the end. And when he goes into Toontown, Judge Doom's weasels capture him, tie him up, put him in Judge Doom's office, and Judge Doom kind of interrogates him, and Jessica is there and throws some suspicion on Jessica. And then they they put Eddie in a car, and when they put him in a car to bring him back to LA, he's got a burlap sack over his head, and it's a big burlap sack. And when they throw him out of the car in front of his office, he takes the burlap sack off, and he's got a pig's head on, a cartoon pig's head, called the pig's head scene. So he goes into his shower, and he strips down to his tie and his undershirt, and he's in his shower, and he's washing the pig's head off of his head, and it's, that you can see the paint going down the drain, and it's like the scene in Psycho where the blood goes down the drain. It's the same thing. And he comes out of the shower and he's wearing his tie and his comes out of the bathroom wearing his tie and his undershirt and his pants. And then Jessica comes in, and that's where Jessica says, "I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way." Well, they cut out everything up to that. So, and I think it was probably a good edit. They put it back in for the director's cut DVD release, and you can see it if you want. But I think it was a good cut. But anyway, when you see the movie, you don't realize it's a little strange that Eddie is coming out of the bathroom wearing his wife beater undershirt and a tie. I mean, what's that all about?
Yeah. I thought it was just the zaniness of it, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, Eddie's not
It worked.
exactly a zany guy. So
That's true.
so that those two scenes, plus some other, like really minor stuff, those two scenes made up for the 20 minutes. Yeah.
It was such a sign of the times too when you said that Spielberg was like against home video, when home video became such a huge thing.
I see. We're getting back to the other. We're getting back to the other Hollywood truism that money conquers all. Hey, I'm never going to do this until $30 million. Well, yeah, maybe I will do it.
Yeah.
Not to say that Steven is money hungry or
Right.
that he's not altruistic, but he does have his soft side and can be persuaded.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that he was so reluctant to do that. And now, I mean, you nowadays you can't imagine that anybody was ever reluctant to do that, because it's such a big part of the movie release process. And in fact, they don't even. It's actually gone past that. I can see a time when they're not going to release movies on DVD anymore. They're just going to go right from, if they even show in theaters, they're going to go right to streaming. I made some. I got some movies on DVD for some young friends of mine, and I mean by young I mean 11, 9, and 7. And these were movies that I had watched when I was a kid. And there's another Christmas story. I was going to give it to them as a Christmas present. And I watched them when I was a kid, and I thought they would like them. So I boxed them up and I sent them to them. And it was Robin Hood with Errol Flynn. It was Shane with Alan Ladd. The Marx Brothers movies.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the ones that I really liked when I was a kid. And I got them all these DVDs, and I sent them to them, and for Christmas, and they opened them and they said, "What are we supposed to do with these?" I said, "Well, you look them on your TV." And they said, "Well, we don't have a DVD player." And nobody, and that's not unusual. I've talked to many young people who no longer have a DVD player. They don't put them in computers anymore. And you see them, you go into Goodwill and stuff like that, and you see DVD players for sale for $10. Even Blu-rays are 25. So
yeah, I was at my mother's house the other day, and I was trying to hook up they got one of the new Xboxes, and they didn't have to really use it, and I was like, because she has all the Christmas movies on DVD that she loves to watch every year, and like she was saying that they don't even play. I had to go in, it's like a special app you got to do now. But yeah, DVDs are, stores are plucking DVDs out, and it'd be crazy to think that if everything just skipped over theatrical, it went right to streaming. But I mean, it's very possible, because then they don't have to pay to put it in theaters and stuff.
yeah, saves a lot of money.
No. Well, Gary, we thank you for sharing some time with
Hey.
us. Some great stories,
Pleasure.
man.
I'm glad I could spend my Christmas with you guys
Hell yeah.
instead of with Jessica. No, I'm only kidding. I'd rather.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Exactly, yeah.
So
Well,
hey, anyway, go to my website, www.garywolf.com. Do all your Christmas shopping there, buy in bulk, and you guys all have a Merry Christmas, okay?
You too. There'll be a link in the description for your website.
Hey, great, thanks.
Yeah.
We'll
All
put it
right,
up.
thank you very much, Roger. Merry Christmas to you too. You've been quiet, but you know,
Yeah,
you're excited.
I'm
I
usually
know.
quiet here. I don't say something, Roger. Oh no, I don't want to. He'll fall over. He's been drinking.
Hell yeah, 'tis the season.
I'll see you
Hi,
guys.
Gary.
Take
See you
care.
later. Have a good one.
Okay.
Bye
Bye.
bye. And that was the great Gary K. Wolf, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? Always a pleasure having Gary in the building. It's a beautiful thing, but I think we have somebody else coming through. Ladies and gentlemen out there in the outside world, we're joined by 3 guests for the next segment of this glorious Yuletide Christmas adventure. I probably have to say, you know, right off the bat, we got Santa Claus in the building with us. Oh my God, dude. I've been asking for this for Christmas for so long. We finally got it. And we have quite possibly the king of the naughty list,
Oh,
Insane Shane McKane in the building.
who could that be? Yeah, boom. Strike
And
drop. There
and
you
then
go.
on the bottom of the naughty list, Bill Coyne, but he is still on the naughty list. Don't worry, Billy boy.
Don't
He
worry,
looks
Santa.
scary.
I'll buy my own
He
gifts this year.
That's all that
Yeah, he
matters.
looks scary, man. He's in the dark over there and shit. He looks like Lord of the Rings over there. I'm Lord of the Bling. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I'm an orc in disguise.
that's what I like to
He
hear.
looks scary, bro.
Next year, Billy is trying to be Santa Claus. Maybe we'll have Billy on here in double Santas or something. Because
Double Santas.
double,
Pull
well,
Interesting.
Santa off.
you can kill. Well, you have to fight to the death, not in front of the kid, but you know,
I'd lose. I'm
It'd
a
be a friendly
pacifist
game
when
of
it
who
comes to
has
Christmas.
the better toys.
Said, do you realize what you just said? That right there, Santa death match.
that's
What
it.
the fuck, yo? That would probably go fucking viral. I'd watch it. Two
Santa-
Santas like beating the hell out of each other. I'm just saying.
Santa pitched
know?
me an idea for a movie about.
Didn't they have a
Very good for
a
good
celebrity
mix. Hey.
Santa a celebrity Santa thing already in the
They did-
ring?
They did
I don't know.
celebrity death match, yeah, back in the
Yeah,
back in the
celebrity
day,
death
yeah.
match.
With
That was a great
Santas?
show.
I never saw.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's claim, it was
It goes back
claymation.
well. I'm old.
It was really, yeah, it was pretty
Claymation.
interesting.
You're not too old. I remember that. I was, you know, the claymation years of MTV
Oh,
when
fuck.
MTV was good.
Oh, claymation. I used to talk about that on the radio.
Yeah,
I used to say, because people were constantly comparing me to Kid Rock, who was making me fucking sick. I was like, yeah, they bought my records, but other than that, I'm not him, dude. So anyway, I would tell people, I want my claymation character to dismember and eat Kid Rock's claymation character.
I like
Kid
that.
Rock rocked. That Kid Rock claymation was good. I remember a little bit of that.
Yeah. My favorite Kid Rock story of all time is I was actually with Mr. Insane Shane McKane. We were down in New York doing a project, and I met this guy that was like, he was a 50-year-old guy. Nothing wrong with being a 50-year-old guy. And I remember he had a Kid Rock tattoo on his arm. And I was like, oh, you got a Kid Rock tattoo? And he goes, yeah, I got it when I was younger. And I go, yeah, when was that? And he said, like 4 months ago. And I was like, yeah. I still laugh about that to this day.
Oh my God. I don't remember anybody having a Kid Rock, but I remember a friend of mine
Right
looking.
here. Yeah.
Oh, that's pathetic.
That was pretty bad, dude. That was a rough deal. You don't never get a band tattooed on your body.
No.
Yeah.
Or something like from back in the day when you were in the glory days, like, you know, that says like, keep on trucking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a big problem. Breaker 19 kind of thing. Yeah.
Keep on slaying. Santa
10-4,
Claus style.
Charlie.
Keep on.
Oh,
I like that. I think I might put it on a T-shirt and put a sleigh above it.
You get a sleigh with
Keep
the
on
red
slaying, like
reindeer.
keep on trucking.
Yeah,
Keep on slaying.
that's big
Yeah.
money. That's big money.
That reminds me, Matt, weren't you going to make a movie about Santa,
I was-
like a Violent Night type of
I
movie?
was just saying, Santa Claus pitched me a movie idea last year, and we got beat to the jump with that Violent Night movie they did.
That's
Yeah,
BS. You can make your own still.
The minute I saw that, I said, "There goes Matt's idea." But I think you can up it.
Yeah,
You can up it.
Matt's ideas are always going to the wayside.
Write them down, copyright them as quick as you can.
That's
Hey,
okay.
what we should do is we should have Santa Claus and Krampus. They team up to go out and beat up a naughty kid. And my vote for Krampus would be Billy Coyne.
All right, just by looks alone and casting, I don't know if I'd go with Shane or William.
Call me Billy.
Well,
Well, I'm sorry. Just saw the patch. You're kind of dark there, dude. I think I'd go with William for Krampus.
hell yeah.
Call me Billy.
Well, he knows you as the name they used to write to him, Bill. When you
Yeah,
go
and I
William
even
on your
told my
card.
parents. I even told my parents on my birth certificate, Billy, I don't want to be my father. I don't want to deal with the BS he has to.
I'm sorry.
Billy,
I'm
all
sorry.
good.
You want to be
It's all
called
good.
Billy?
I just changed
Or
your
was-
name in the spirit of Christmas. I just changed.
I
your name
apologize.
the way you
I
want
don't
In the
like to be
spirit
called
of
Donald.
Christmas,
I like to be called Don, Donn.
D-O-N.
And obvious reasons. I don't like the Disney duck.
No. Don
For
Knotts.
some reason, I always had a DA haircut when I was younger.
Yeah.
Now I have this white back of my hair.
So we got you from the South Pole, so that the audio is a little messed up. You know what I mean? But first of all,
Yeah, but that's really where my operation is, in the South Pole. All right, I got a
Hi.
question for you.
Yeah.
Which one of the reindeer are female?
One.
Go ahead.
Vixen.
No, which one? You got to think of a name. You got to pick
Which
Vixen.
Which one of the reindeers is actually female? The only female on my team.
Vixen.
Ah, you got it.
We both got
Now,
it right. at the
he
same
sent me a
time.
previous question
Yeah.
about who the worst reindeer was, and
No,
I
that's
just happened to
wrong.
look up on. Huh?
It's wrong, bro.
I-
There's the reindeers that
Vixen.
are female. No, there's other reindeers that are in transition to becoming female. You didn't talk about them.
Dang it. Okay, well then, is it Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, or Donner, or Blitzen?
We're getting
I
canceled.
would say
for Christmas.
Prancer.
Blitzen's in transition.
Branch is all the way over. Doesn't even matter.
The Francis are halfway there, I think, with the name.
Oh yeah. There you have it.
Yeah,
Well-
I'd like to see that transition. Antlers and thing. Actually, Vixen does have antlers. Now that I think about it,
They all
usually
do, don't
most
they?
deer have no antlers at all
No?
that are female, but very few.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter
Nah.
if you can. Doesn't matter if you're straight or you're gay, as long as you can pull the fucking sleigh. That's the
Yes.
way it is. Thank you.
Exactly. Exactly. I
Yeah,
agree.
pike drop.
Slaying all
Cockadoodle
night
Jew.
long.
None of the reindeers have antlers after I run them over.
Do the job. Do the job.
That's
Get
it.
the presents out.
Alright. Alex has one thing to say. We're
Make
gonna
sure
get
Billy gets his Chucky doll.
Billy. Oh,
I have a few Chucky dolls.
William gets
Scary.
his Dracula. Alexander, we're not sure yet. Shane, come back
Yes.
again with the dog.
There you go.
Big dog is here. You know, the difference between me and you is, you're yelling ho, ho, ho. The only thing I've ever yelled is ho. Where's the ho is that? So
I'm
I'm kind
yelling
of
that-
an alien on this whole fucking show.
I'm yelling ho 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 because that's what I is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
why I told
I
Mrs.
actually,
Claus to
I'm
come
out
here.
there. I'm out there with money, earning money doing this. It's strange because they paid.
Oh, there you go.
Heck yeah.
Wow.
They paid.
Bass Pro sponsor of the show.
Jordan's Furniture, Polar Express, Bass Pro. Those are people I work for. Not very well. It's like working for the Red Sox. It's great. Hey, bragging rights, but that's all it's worth. When you do home visits, it's a little bit more money. It's something to do. When my most memorable thing for me is doing Toys for Tots for the Marines.
Hell yeah.
Marine Jim was my
Yeah.
favorite guy to ever to meet every year that I ever did Toys for Tots for John, who did Amesbury Holiday Lights now.
Nice.
Amesbury Holiday Lights went on for like 17, 18 years with him. I donated my time as traditional meaning this. You put that on. That's traditional. Okay.
Wow.
You put that wig on, you put the beard on. That's traditional. That's you. Well, that would be Shane. Alexander, you'd have to grow in the rest of your beard, Billy. You're all set. All you have to do is bleach your beard and you're there. You're there,
Right.
Matt. And that's the thing is this has been most of my life. And what I started out was earning extra money on the side. I started out with a little $75 thing that I went into Tom's store. I saw an outfit, and the next strip was a little elf outfit in corduroy. And by the time I looked at that, I said, Tom, how much is it? He said, for you, Don, $75. From there, all I had to do was buy that little synthetic wig. And then from there, it went on. I mean, when I became real bearded, it was because my mentor, Jay, who I went to Santa school with, he actually was the teacher of Santa school. Yeah, there is a Santa school. Now there's camp, Santa camp. Have you watched that movie?
I've
No,
heard about the fact that there is.
It'd be
Like, I
winter.
know
I
there's
mean,
Cloud
that's
University. but someone
Shane, when you
also
said
told
it
me
doesn't
about
matter
the Santa
who
camp.
does the job,
yes,
watch that movie. That's Santa's here.
yeah.
Santa's here. Santa's not
You mean like you?
not
You're saying you're here?
not just Matt doing his beard. If Matt did his
Hey.
beard and went out and put a wig on or just bleached everything he did,
I wear a
if he
wig
doesn't
every
have the
now and
heart for it, you won't. Because what you run up in this job, it's one of the questions you had, Matt, was what's the worst thing about this job?
then. Yeah.
And that's seeing people that you're not going to see next year.
Mm.
You
Oh,
actually
but
meet
why?
these people.
How come? Because
You-
they're naughty and they're not getting a fucking gift?
No. And it's
Oh.
basically like going to a hospital, to a cancer treatment hospital, and seeing a kid because they invited you in
Yeah.
and knowing that he's going to be not here next year.
Yeah,
I've
I mean,
even
and-
adults on the Polar Express. One of my worst moments was having to talk to an adult first time ever with cancer or whatever it was that she had. And they pre-warn you. It's like, hey, there's a birthday out there. Hey, there's this person that wants to meet you out there. They came in and they said to me, she's not going to be here next year. I said, what? I said, are you sure? What are you talking about? She's not going to come back on is she part of the train? Is she somebody you hired? No, she's dying. And I went, are you kidding? What am
So
I
what did you
supposed to
give her?
say to that? That's
What
the
did you
worst
give him
part.
for a gift? See, that's what you
Huh?
should have gotten. You should have gave her a special gift, like
I
you
did.
said.
You know what I did?
What'd you give her?
I mean, at that
Weed?
point,
Should
you're
have gave
giving
her
away.
some good fucking weed. Should have gave her some good pot, bro. That's what I
can
do for
imagine
extra money. You went
Santa
back in the
gave
day.
her the gift of his presence,
that. You know what's funny? She
knowing
probably was doing that
unfortunately
for
she
cancer,
wasn't going to be
just to
there
keep the
for
pain
next
away.
Christmas.
Probably, yeah.
That's the worst part of the job, though, Matt. When you asked that, I was like, how am I going to answer that?
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing. You could say it's the little kid that steps on your foot when he's lost his mother, and that happened the first year I did it in a traditional beard. And luckily, I had like an Air Force rubber boot, which was inflatable
Yeah.
for the Arctic. Seriously, Arctic boots that army men and servicemen use for the Arctic. It goes down minus 100 degrees or so. I've actually camped in minus 80-degree weather. Not fun at all.
Oh,
Below 8 feet of snow digging in,
yeah.
and it's not
Yeah.
easy. And that's not as Santa. That's as Dawn. Santa Dawn
Dawn.
has done a lot, but not that.
Why would Don torture himself like this? Was this an endurance test?
Why would I
or-
torture myself like that? I actually cross-country skied in probably about 10, 12 miles under my friend's property. And that was just to check out his property and go see what it was. So we decided to do that every year. It's like I used to fly in on one of the lakes up there, 50 miles in, camp for 3 days. And the only thing you can eat is the fish that's alive. You cannot bring any live food in. You can't bring any kind of food in except dried food. So you're living off that for 3 days.
Survive.
So you're
I
almost
found-
dropped
Yeah.
off, and you need to hike,
Huh?
X amount, and where you need to kind of camp for a few days to really get to, your the place you're ultimately going to be staying.
Well, the minus 80-degree weather actually felt like North Pole to me. I actually got sick on one of them. The 5 years I did it, year 4, I actually got sick and they treaded me out on my own sled. My friend actually snow tracked me out about that rest of the miles out to the road. No cell phones back then.
It's,
I'm 20 something years old and I'm sick with a minus 105-degree temperature. I'm lucky I didn't die out there.
I
But
know, 100.
so
Oh, my- yeah.
and now Santa's living on a defibrillator pacemaker, brought back 4 times. So every time I play this Santa, yeah, I play it from here. It can't be done any other way. Mrs. Claus this year,
Yeah.
God's saving because she can hear better than I can.
I
So
heard
she's
about that.
listening and she's thinking,
But I heard about that.
yeah, Mrs. Claus is actually Mrs. Claus is more popular this year than any years before.
In
Mrs.
general?
Claus can go out on her own now. Did you know that?
Don't let her know that.
She's
Don't-
not being a vixen either.
Don't let her
I
know
have
that.
actually a holiday
Huh?
question for
Don't let her
everyone.
know that.
I'm
I
actually
have a
pimping
holiday
her out.
question
That's
for
what I'm
everyone
doing.
here because you brought up Mrs. Claus. What was the
Huh?
very first movie Mrs. Claus ever made an appearance as a character?
Who was that? Now, I
Santa
know-
Claus
I know,
Conquers the Martians,
Angela Lansbury did one.
1964.
Huh?
Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, 1964, was the very first time Mrs.
You're-
Claus was introduced in a character in the mythology of Santa Claus.
You're good. You're good because I have to watch all those movies. I have to watch every movie that's out there. Polar Express, every once in a while, I get the line wrong when I come in and say Merry Christmas, and you're holding up that bell, the first gift of Christmas, and then you have to say this bell is a wonderful symbol of Christmas, as am I. You can still get that wrong,
Yeah.
and the kid will still take that bell anyway. But you have to get that as am I out there, or they don't take that bell, not knowing. It's gut wrenching, like I said. Some of the kids that, you're always going to get little screamers.
Yeah.
I won't go there.
All right.
I will not go there. But they, every picture I've ever taken, if there's attitude in the kid, I put attitude in the picture. If there's not attitude and they're shy, I go shy too. If they're down on the ground in the middle of the train, I get down on the ground in the middle of that train and hand them that bell. If a baby's not reaching for that bell and I put it in front of him, if he's finally reaching it, I make sure that bell goes right into that little hand. And then if they clamp on it, I let it go.
Yeah.
If they let it go, that's their problem.
See, this is very similar to what I did, when I would have chicks in the limo, and I was always ringing that bell. Okay, if they wanted to go silent, was silent. If they were screamers, I just rolled with it. You know what I'm saying? So I could totally relate to this. But I was in the back with the hose, with the hose, and yes, I kind of did essentially the same thing. I just rolled with it. We had some screamers. We had some disturbed ones. We had some wild ones. And I just dealt with the chicks as best I could. And if it really got bad, I know you tolerated it. I just would stop. I'd tell the guys, stop the limo. Your bus is here. And I'd kick them out. And there was still lots of chicks to play with. But that's different. But go ahead, Santa. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just said we had something in common there and I wanted to bond. But go on.
So
Sorry.
I was definitely a limo driver. I've only had one incident where they broke the glass things and they tried to blame it on me. And I was driving down and I heard fighting in the back. I mean, literally punches and ouch and hurt and screaming. And
yeah.
I pulled over and I said, you know what? There's a state policeman station right there on Scotland Road. I can pull over now if you want. It stopped.
Was
And
it
then we got back to where we went. I said, don't even give me a tip. Call my boss. I don't care if you pay for this or not.
Was it a wedding party?
Oh, that's how I became a sleigh person, by the way. I drove limo first, and now I'm driving sleigh.
Nice.
What do you prefer? Sleigh?
Yeah. All the reindeer and the vixens in that back seat, like you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So with these kids here, like I got a nephew that's like I love him to death, but he's a handful. He punches my face, claws my face whenever he sees me. You have had any interaction with that? Where you know, I know you're talking about the different attitudes of kids.
No, I've never been hit. I've never been wet on. One of the things in a mall, Santa, like Bass Pro, I did 1,200 kids one day, 890 at Jordan's Furniture one day, and you sit there with a little counter going click, 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 click for every child, not the adults. That doesn't include adults.
Why do you do
just
the
every child that comes through there? So you're clicking on the families and how many kids are bringing in.
Is it like a paid
And
kid thing?
and little back things here.
Like crowd control.
I've never. I don't think I've ever been hit. I've been stepped on by the kid. That's the only thing that's ever happened to me physically. The kid stepped on my thing. And that's because he lost his mother that Christmas. I donated my time to the kid in Haverhill, to his father. And I went in, the kid you're not Santa.
No.
Boom. Full force right on my foot. And luckily I said I had those little rubber boots that kind of took the impact.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I've actually been hit.
Well,
If you don't want to be hit, you got to keep yourself back. And the rule now is you're not sitting on Santa's lap unless he wants you to.
Right.
And I get a lot of that where the females, like you said, where the females want to sit on your lap and you're going, all right, Mrs. Claus is standing right over there. If not, I got to call her and let her know what's going on.
Yeah.
I went actually into one of Burlington restaurant. I put on a little bit of an accent. Went in like an Irish Santa or Scottish Santa. They asked me where I went. I said, you're going to have to guess by the end of the day. I'm nothing to do with Boston and I'm nothing to do with Ireland. And they, at the end of the night, they had no clue who I was. I walked out of there, took the traditional wig off, the traditional hat in. Could have walked in there 35 pounds lighter and sat there and had my Jack Daniels.
Yeah. Do you
That
ever
sounds good.
Do you ever have
that little incognito?
like
works.
if you're eating dinner after doing doing the deal, do you ever get in? You is it off? You just don't do it?
No, you know what's funny
with
is
strangers.
funny you should mention that too. The first time I became real bearded, I was on a little breakfast nook called Busy Bee in Amesbury, and my wife is sitting there with her white, and she had white hair up front here and red hair at the back because she was still growing out, and now she has beautiful white hair, gorgeous white hair, which she wants to make red again. And I'm saying, no, don't. She puts it up or she keeps it down. Matt, I'll send you a picture someday if you want to see them, although you've probably seen them anyway on Facebook. But I'm sitting there just about ready to get my coffee. And my wife is looking, all of a sudden this little kid's right beside me. And he's just staring, going like this. And his mother comes up, he thinks you're Santa. And I went, well, aren't I? And he just looked at me like that. And I went, would you like to have a cup of cocoa with Santa? And we sat down. And how long did he stay down? About what? Maybe 10 minutes. And I had cocoa with a kid that thing. And I can't walk through any market basket without a kid saying like that. And I just turn and do this.
Yeah. I feel like that would
And I mean, you see it in the commercial. Every Santa that's dressed like this. Look up Santa Ed. He's been a professional one. He does commercials galore, literally commercials. You guys are into movies and making video and things like that. There's real professional Santas out there. Santa Ed is one of them, and he's a teacher, a giver, and he doesn't like to receive anything for it. He'll sit down and talk with you. You can pick his head up.
My question for Dawn: what is your favorite Santa Claus performance, and who played Santa?
Oh, okay. What my favorite performer for Santa on movies?
Yeah, your favorite in a movie. Who do you think played Santa Claus the best?
Oh, all right. Wow, this is a tough one.
Because there's so many of them.
If you're talking claymation, you're going back to oh my God, I can't think of his name.
Was it Burl Ives that did?
Yeah, Burl Ives was Frosty. I thought.
Okay. Yeah,
Burl Ives was Frosty, and that's the other thing. You have to be prepared. Every little kid that's seen every claymation. It happened to me the other night. Well, they ask you every question you can think about that claymation. But to go back to favorite Santa and thing, the guy that played Tim the Tailor Man, Tool Man.
I had a feeling you were going to Tim Allen.
Well, yeah, Tim Allen. And I'll tell you why, because basically, looking at him, and that's basically Santa growing his beard quick, going back up. I start July 1st. This is how long it gets. This is July 1st. So imagine another 6 months from now, I won't be kissing my wife on July 25th because she'll kill me. I have to shave this beard July 26th, 27th, or I'm done. I've been married 38 years. I shave this beard the next day after Christmas.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'd assume.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. She says on Christmas.
Well, Tim
On
Allen,
Christmas. So that's
Mrs.
her
Claus is
gift.
right here. Don't mind the mess, but Mrs. Claus is right here.
hey, Mrs. Claus.
Hi, Mrs. Claus.
God, I look horrible.
No, no, no. I see the
I have to
outfit
take it
back.
off for now. And if you notice, she's wearing leopard.
Every Miss Claus should be wearing leopard. That's my, a lot of leopard in the back of Shane's limo. That's for sure.
Well,
The,
yeah, I was gonna say,
Are you saying you had a cougar?
oh yeah, man, one or two, I think. I don't know.
this is
We'll see.
this is the most
Billy, does that
wholesome-
did I answer your question
Really?
okay?
Yeah.
I mean, the
Oh,
other one
eh?
after that is the one with Goldie Hawn in it. That's my favorite Mrs. Claus, Goldie Hawn.
Oh yeah, the one with her and Kurt when Kurt Russell was
Yep, I
Santa
like
Claus.
her. I like
Yeah,
her and her.
they were
and-
great,
and, her
yeah.
husband was an okay Santa Claus. A lot of people are shooting for that image now. A lot of people want to wear that outfit for being Santa.
Yeah.
And no, it doesn't work for me. I mean, you can wear anything red or green. I can wear this. And as long as I walk into somewhere, like I said, when that kid sat down with me, had Coco, I had just a white shirt on and a pair of dungarees. And
Yeah.
I'm Santa to him. And I don't know how it became a magnet, but it did. And Jay said to me 9 or 10 years ago, when I became real bearded,
Yeah.
he said, your world will change. And it did. It really did. I haven't looked back since. I mean, this year in one day, my wife took 19 calls and I booked all 19 things within one day. I had no more openings.
Good.
Christmas now to me, Christmas Eve is no longer a visit from Santa. I shave and I go for my grandkids and that's it. My grandkids know I'm not Santa, but I'm their Santa's helper.
Yeah.
I
So,
gotta tell you, I gotta interject something here, man. This is all I can say. I've never been a part of such a wholesome, pure, like G-rated show. I am so on the other side of it. I mean, when you
Well,
talk about hot cocoa and the whole thing, dude, the last time I had cocoa that was hot was a stripper. Okay. And yes, she did sit on my lap and I wanted her to, and I paid her. So I don't know. I'm a Jew. Okay. I'm one of the chosen people. You are, I think if I was on mushrooms, I would actually believe you were Santa because you're so good at it.
The saddest part is there's people out there that think they are. There's
you
like
are.
top 3
I
Santas
think you
that
are.
I asked
You
Matt
are.
up front, by the way, is this going to be an adult thing or a kid thing? Because I don't want to go too far. When he asked if I drank, one of the questions was, do I drink and drive when I drive the sleigh? Absolutely not. I don't drink when I drive the sleigh. No way. I don't drink.
Oh God.
You know,
I
the
don't know.
old-fashioned way.
It's so sweet. I see the Christmas tree in the back, the nicest guy ever playing Santa. Like he is a hero. I am a zero. This is just a mirror for me looking and seeing.
Shane, I'm with you. I
freaking-
feel like the odd man out. I mean, this is
It's
awesome.
tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's
tough for me being like this because growing this beard from July 1st to now, and shaving it off, and then having it not for the rest of the entertainment that I do, which is entertain kids. I mean, it's been a close relationship between me and anybody that I busk for, kids, adults, anybody I go in for Santa. The worst Santa I ever had was a belly dancing thing, and I think you would have liked that, Shane. The belly
I
dancing
would
was
have
awesome.
loved that.
My
would've
Mrs. Claus
loved
was
it.
there too. Actually,
Belly
somebody came in.
dancing.
We
Getting a
were looking
tickle in
out
the
the
kosher
window.
pickle. Love it. Really.
No, they did ask me to dance though.
You? Oh Lord.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some like fetishism of the Santa Claus around the holidays of like,
Oh, there totally
acting on it.
is.
You're not acting on it, of
I would
course,
love
but
that.
a lot of flirtation stuff, flirtatious
Sure.
things.
I would
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, but
Sometimes
Don's not
it's
getting any
really is
fingers.
hard to get, how do I put it? A person off my lap if they're drunk.
Oh yeah.
The Burlington thing. There was one lady hanging on me, but I'm trying to get away from the bar. I'm ringing bells for the kid, and I have to be there for kids, not the drunks, not the ladies in the bar. I have to stop and give them stuff. But at the same time, I had 21 people that for 5 years in a row, they would make sure that I was going to be Santa that year. They made sure that I was Santa so that they could bring their 21 ladies in with the one guy sitting with them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I had to sit, they didn't sit on my lap. I had to sit on their lap.
Well, there you go.
Oh, Lord.
So,
That's the gift. The keeps gift.
so Shane, I'm sorry this is so G-rated for you.
Well, I mean, I'm really appreciating it, but I'm more like a wicked spectator because I'm here to tell you, man, when a woman gets on my lap, I don't want her to get off, So
Well,
we're at different ends of the spectrum, bro.
that
I'm
type
just
of
All right,
saying.
Shane, I've been married for 38 years. I've never done anything against my marriage, in all honesty. That's probably
Oh,
why I'm like I am.
that's cool.
And I'm not really open to people except through the Santa, except through Mr. D. When I go home, I'm a normal person. I try to be. My wife says I'm not. See, she laughed. I am not normal in that way.
None of us are.
Like Jim Carrey says, there's no Jim Carrey left.
That's true.
I don't know if there's it's getting to that point where I go, is there Don Kelly left? Is it just Mr. D that can go out and have a good time? Or can I go out and have a good time?
Well, what's a good time?
Jim said it well.
What's a good
There's no
time
Jim
for
Carrey left in him. Look at all the characters that guy's played. And I'm just doing it on a local level. And like I said, I can't walk through Market Basket. When I shave this off, because I've been known for like 32 years as Mr. D, the balloon guy downtown busking. I can't walk through without somebody stopping me talking to me because everybody local knows me. If I put this beard on, there's only one person that stops me, and that's that little kid that goes, Santa.
Yeah.
No, and they're always crying over the thing. If the parents want to keep them going, parents just want to
Sure.
keep them walking out the thing, and I stop whenever they stop. That's all there is to it.
Mr. D.
There's just some things I've been doing. That's it. For 28 years now, I've been Santa. Like I said, donating my time for Toys for Tots, going out there making money. The worst season of them all for me. You want to know what's worst about the job?
What?
It's not having one
I
when
hear
you're Santa.
that.
Not having it. That has got to be the lowest. Being stepped on is good. I mean, that's good compared to that. But my entire season was taken away from me because I was promised the entire season of being on the Polar Express. Now that is mega money when you're
Yeah.
doing an entire season. That's a lot of money. It's
But
more
aren't
than what
those
I
Santas
make.
unionized?
Huh?
Aren't those guys unionized?
No,
Oh, they're not.
no. Surprisingly, I don't know of one Santa union. The closest that's coming to that is Higher Santa. And to be honest with you, I would not, that the one that was on Shark Tank that they just recently brought in,
Yeah.
Santa
Okay.
Dan, who had there's Higher Santa, and then Santa Dan had something that
Santa.
I'm a Santa, which they combined both now. They double the price of what the Santa asked for. If let's say if it's $400, they'll ask $8. You go, you don't know the client's giving them $800 and giving you half that. That's a 100% markup.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's not good for the client. That's not good for you if they find out later that they've only paid you $400.
So
Then when they know they could have got you directly cheaper.
is there a lot
See,
of
now you're getting into the Jewish part of Christmas. This I like, the haggling,
is there a lot of politics in this?
You want to know
industry?
something, Shane?
Yeah.
You're talking about the Jewish part of Christmas. My
I
friend
love it.
from Texas is full Jew, and my friend Eddie Gardner, who's a magician that sells magic things, 100% the Jewish faith. Puts on the traditional wig and beard, Eddie, and I've used him a few times to replace me. And the other one in Texas is full bearded. He's been full bearded all his life, and has played Santa probably 45, 50 years of his life
And he's
being
Jewish?
Jewish. Yeah.
How the hell does
There's
that
a
work?
lot
What
of
does he
there's a
say?
lot of faith.
So, Bob,
There's a lot.
who's been naughty and who's been nice? I don't know. It's not gonna fly, bro.
Look, kid, you're
Just
not gonna
saying.
get what you want. I'm not giving it to you. Talk to Harry the Hanukkah man.
You're not
Boy, this
getting it.
little gefilte fish just wet in my lap.
I told you,
Yeah, I'm not.
I have a Jewish Christmas. I have it every year. You know, I basically tell people, if you're gonna get me a Christmas gift, enclose the receipt, put the receipt in the package just in case. I might want to return it for the money. You know,
But
saying.
it's. I mean,
Is there a lot of
I've met people of all faiths now.
yeah?
The biggest thing is Black Santa. That's the largest thing. Now I've asked,
Hell yeah,
see, as a Santa, all right,
yeah.
I've gone up and my wife gets embarrassed by it. If there's a guy like all right, Matthew, all right,
Yeah.
if I go up to him in a hotel, I'm at a hotel, I walk by him, and if I think he's going to be a great Santa, I'll walk up to him, black, white, yellow, whatever. And the first guy I ever asked this to says, "You're kidding." I went, "No, because you can get into places I can't.
Mm.
You can walk into places I can't. I can go into those.
Oh,
I
love
can
it.
go into places, and they'll believe I'm Santa, but they believe you if you were Santa
Yeah.
more. And you, as sad as it sounds, two of the people I know did it, and the most famous one of those right now that I know of is Santa Chris, and the guy that was in that movie. You got to watch the movie, Santa Camp. If none of you have seen it, take time out. Billy, you got to watch it because you had quite a good question there about my best Santas. Santa Chris is my favorite Black Santa.
Santa's
He
How's
put
that
up with
gonna
all
work?
sorts of stuff down south.
Santas
I don't
don't like
know, bro.
using the last name. Santas don't use last names. It's like crime. It's like
No, Santa uses first names only, and that's
Oh,
just to
come on.
distinguish
safe word.
yourself from somebody else.
Yeah. What if there's
Be
two
like,
Johns?
I'm
It'll be like-
Santa, sucker. I don't get it. I'm sorry. Well, listen, man.
What?
All right. So here's the deal.
No.
Shano, the token Jew in the broadcast, is going to drop the mic and go crack another beer. I'm going to
Nice.
step back
Hey,
because
Shane.
yes, sir.
It's been a pleasure talking with you. It really has.
Yeah.
It
No,
really
you're
has.
awesome, dude. You really are awesome.
right.
You got such a positive spirit, and I really, you're just a good egg, you know. And I did Toys for Tots too, you know, but I emceed it for a radio station, and it wasn't the same, bro. It was Mini Kiss was playing, midgets dressed up as Kiss. We are just two different entities, but I love and respect what you do, and I really appreciate your positive spirit and the fact that it's not about getting rich, it's about enriching, and that's something that you obviously really have a handle on, and I really respect
And
that.
that's where I go to Jim Carrey and say, Jim Carrey's no longer here. Don Kelly might no longer be here. In the next few years, I don't know where I'm
Yeah.
going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I
None
could,
of us do. None
I
of
could
us
just
do.
turn into, I could
Yeah,
turn
I
into
got
Santa for you, Shane.
You already did. You already convinced me. I'm sold. We have Black Santa. We have my black cat here. Everything's good. It's all Black Lives Matter, you know?
Listen, Shane,
Say,
if you watch
yo,
that movie, there's other Santas out there. There's a
no.
cerebral palsy
Okay.
Santa. There's gay Santas. There's lesbian Santas. There's all sorts of Santas. But remember the one thing I told you in the beginning of this whole talk.
Yeah.
It's here.
Yeah. No, I get
No
it.
matter what faith you have, no matter what color you are, no matter what you for, if you wanted to be, if you had it right here, you can do it.
Yeah.
I
You
get
just
it.
have
I
to look
love
at
it.
one thing. You have to remember you were a child once. Okay.
I'm still a child.
Yeah.
My inner child. I'm still a child. What are you kidding?
66
I
right
get
here.
it.
I'm flipping it. I feel like I'm 99, but I can take that 1 6 off, and my mentality is about a 16, 20, 18-year-old kid. I can do this,
Okay.
and I can't body wise. So it's
I
not,
think it's
and
great.
I might have to consider that too, because my body health is just not what it's up to be.
Yeah,
I've
hear you.
fought cancer for a little bit with prostate and colon, and I got a defibrillator pacemaker in me, but I'm not giving up. There's times when I sit with my wife and say, yeah, really don't want to entertain anymore. I wanted to retire when I could 4 or 5 years ago. And then all of a sudden I became real bearded, and it just, I enjoyed doing Jordan's Furniture, doing 800 kids, 1,200 for Bass Pro, and that's just one day. You
That's
know,
amazing.
you get to know those
Wow.
you get to know those people really well. Jay, who was the person got me in there, he's been doing it for what, 30 years, Donna?
No idea.
I think Jay had been doing Jordan's Furniture for like 30 years. And he got me in there as I was the, if you were sick, I'm coming in for you. And the amount of time I did it, it just changed my life. Bass Pro, same thing. Jordan's Furniture, Polar Express. It's
So
great
Great.
bragging rights. It doesn't pay well, but if you're good with kids and you got a heart,
Well, the
Yeah.
that guy, Alexander, Billy, Shane, Matt,
Yeah.
Matt could make it easier on himself. He's got to bleach his beard, but you guys would have to grow one. And you, Billy, you'd probably have to grow a little bit your side. And actually, I know a Santa that just has a goatee
I believe that.
Yeah.
and a little bit of white on the
You-
side.
You bring up Polar.
But Shane, I'm gonna let you go. You can have your beer.
Yeah,
I'll start
right
on
on.
this after.
It's a
Merry
pleasure, man.
Christmas and
Thank you.
Hanukkah, Shane.
Like you say, it's all about the spirit of Christmas. It's what lives inside of you, and I can respect that. And
Yeah.
God bless
Yeah.
and Merry Christmas to you all.
Christmas.
Well, hey, listen, you're happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you, brother. I don't really
Happy
practice
Hanukkah.
Judaism. I don't practice anymore. Why? Because I got it down. I don't need
But
to
you know
practice.
what? You know what?
Yeah.
I say Merry Christmas. You say Happy Hanukkah. There's Ramadan. Hey man, I had quick before you go off. I've had Jewish kids come up to me and ask me what they want for Christmas, and then tell me they're Jewish. And that's a little bit hard, to say to them, you're asking. You have a different faith from me. You have a different faith from that you grew up in. But the person I believe in, the person that ran up in the manger, came from your faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And then they walk away going, and they don't know what to say. I did
Good
that to a mom
answer.
one day.
It's
I said,
kindness.
I believe in one of you. What does she mean? What do you mean by that? The baby that was born in that manger, what faith was he? And they walk away.
Mm.
So you have to think about
True.
what kind of faith we put in that person that born in that little manger. I put my faith in him. He puts his faith back in me. It's that
Well,
simple.
I will tell you one quick thing before I bounce. Speaking of the manger, one time when me and my ex-girlfriend, Snow White Trash, okay, were rolling through Western New York, we passed a trailer, like a little trailer, actually a big ass trailer, right on the road. It had a manger scene, a nativity scene, full-fledged figurines. It was huge. It was about 20 feet by and I got in there. I got in the middle of it, right with Mary and Joseph looking into the bassinet, and she took a picture, and I'm just looking in there at the baby Jesus with my arm around Mary and Joseph, and we made postcards that said, "There's a stranger in the manger."
Yeah, but more related than I am.
Yeah, no, it was
No.
awesome, man. Well, anyways, it was a pleasure meeting you, and Merry Christmas.
Pleasure meeting
and
you, Shane.
spirit.
Pleasure talking with you.
Spirit up.
Merry Christmas.
All right, peeps. Yep. Peace out, y'all.
Shane,
Boom.
talk to you later.
Later, Shane.
Hey,
You got it. Yep. Peace. See you.
later.
Keep the faith, like I said.
Hell yeah.
I
Take care.
will try. I will try.
All right.
See you.
Good.
Billy's so silent over here. And he's
Yeah.
Alexander.
Billy,
I don't know what to name you for now, but it's going to be dirty no matter what it is.
Billy's got beef with you because you didn't bring him the gifts that he wanted. Is it?
Hack,
No, I
Hack,
buy
I'm
my
going to
own
name, you know
gifts.
what? Is it Hawk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex, yeah.
Hack the elf.
Hack the elf. I like that.
Hack the elf.
I got some questions for you though. Let's get real with it here. I know you talked about Polar Express. You don't work there no more. Is there like a lot of politics in the Santa business?
Politics.
You know,
Business
like
is business.
No,
There's always
well, you know what?
politics.
There's a lot of backstabbing.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
put
I
it that
can
way.
believe
There is a lot of backstabbing. I had a gig. Well, actually, my wife had a gig that I was supposed to do that had a helicopter ride attached to it. And unfortunately, the helicopter ride became nothing because the guy sold the helicopter that year. And the guy that took my place with my wife as Mrs. Claus, and he went in and he said he wasn't really going to do it. But the following year, he took the gig from Mrs. Claus, put his wife in it and took the whole entire thing away from me. And I said, what do you think of ethics? And I happened to put it on because he's part of one of the venues on Facebook that I'm attached to. And I said, do all Santas have ethics, or do some have none at all? And I know he saw it.
Yeah.
I know he saw it completely. That was that was like, hey, you're a backstabber. I'm going to let people know that you're either in this just to take whatever you can out of it, and not in this for the business of doing what needs to be done the way it should be done, you know?
Yeah.
I took place. The reason I lost Polar Express 1 year, I lost an entire season. I think I was trying to explain that. I gave away all my Santas because I was going to do the whole entire Polar Express, that whole season of 4 or 5 weeks from Thanksgiving to just Christmas. And I turned around and gave all my Santas away to other things. Well, now I can't take it back. 2 weeks before Polar Express, they called me up and said, or they text me, not called, text me. We're letting you free so you can start booking your season. And I went, I start booking in January and February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just gave my season away for you guys. I could literally sue you because I have a verbal contract with you. We didn't sign anything legally,
Yeah.
but I have a verbal contract. And I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? I'm letting it slide because I'll be back there. They'll want me back. And I took the place of Lou. What they said to me was, speaking of politics, like you said,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're letting you go because we're only using 2 Santas this year on the train. We have a season that's cut back because of COVID and everything else. And what they didn't know was Santa had bought premium seats on the front of the train. Now that train's just like the Titanic. There's the elite,
Yeah.
the middle, and then there's the Irish like me in the back,
Yeah. Yeah.
having a great time, not paying for it as much. And Lou came back. I went up on the elite train with my grandkids, which were supposed to go with their other grandmother and grandfather. And because they wanted to see me, they said, no, we're not going. I went, well, I'm going. I'll take the grandkids. We'll sit on that train. I took a picture with him too. I know Mark very well.
Yeah.
And I know Lou as much, and I know Eric. We'll talk about that Santa Heart
Yeah.
on that train. Yeah, Bill, there's a little bit of politics in some of it, a little bit of backstabbing like anything else in life. You can be at one job in your life, even movies, and somebody's going to say something about you that really isn't true just to get back what they think that they deserve, or they,
Oh, it happens all the time. I mean, the
Yeah.
backstabbing in the industry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people are willing to basically, throw you under the bus just to advance someone else's career
bingo. They threw me under the train.
under the train.
Oh.
Literally. Yeah.
So getting back to the Heart, the year that I was on it, they had to put a Santa in, and they took one of the kids from the hotel who I happened to like. His name was Eric. He was a good kid. And they put him in the Santa suit, and he bought a glue beard. There's a traditional beard you can buy that you can glue on.
Yeah.
So this kid's glued this on, and now he's got this really tight hair on his head that can't come off. And his beard that supposedly stays on with the glue. And sure enough, one kid, you're not Santa,
Oh.
pulled the whole beard off his half his face. And he's got to do the rest of the train. He only did half the train. Now he's got to go do the rest of the other half with it.
Yeah.
And
Kids cry.
Taylor, in that year, when he came back, I saw his face was all red underneath. I says, you should have used a traditional beard, not that, because when they pull, they pull. And that kid pulled. And they didn't nothing about it.
Yeah.
They didn't give him any extra pay. They didn't tell him what to do. They could have sued the parents for the little brat. I never had anything like that happen to me. I've had adults pull on my beard, but it's real. It takes a lot to hurt. It's like pulling your hair. If you don't pull it right, you rip it off anyway. But he came back this year and he has a full beard and he's 255 pounds.
Dedicated.
I lost 30 pounds, 35, 40 pounds. He looks like what I used to look.
Hey, real quick question. In when Santa Claus is supposed to be a jolly dude, do you find a lot of people living unhealthy to try and get that jolliness on their body to kind of sell it more?
Eric did that on purpose.
Yeah, that's not a good deal.
Eric did that. Said I didn't want to wear a pad. I said, look, I am now 200 pounds. I lost 45 to 50 pounds off myself so I could live to do this.
Right.
I said, you want to die tomorrow? Gain another 10 to 20 pounds and watch what your heart does.
He said, I
Your heart's going to try.
live till December 26th, brother. That's all I care about. You know what I mean?
Well, listen. It's been nice. Matt,
Yo,
thank you for asking me to do this.
always a pleasure, Don.
I appreciate Shane, Alexander, Billy. I know you were silent. I know you probably have more questions. And I really wish I could hear you and I wouldn't have to do this.
We'll get you back.
But
on
that's what I do
here,
for kids
so.
every day. Mrs. Claus is my Mrs. Claus is actually an interpreter, by the way.
I like
She
that.
signs fluently. So if there's a deaf dead kid, wow.
There's
Only I
you
wish a
get
couple
3 dead
times.
kids here, actually, believe it or
If
not.
there's a deaf kid or non-hearing person,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say hard of hearing or deaf, can't hear. She signs for me, or I sign very little. I know how to say Merry Christmas. I know how to say thank you. I know how to say, the basics.
Yeah.
And I get by it. I get through that train and through other places a lot with it. Very, very, very this much sign. And her
Yeah.
so fluent, you could speak Chinese to her and she wouldn't understand that, but she'd sign and you wouldn't understand her.
I used to be good at sign language. I worked with a deaf filmmaker, Arthur, back in the day, and his whole crew was practically deaf. And there was a time I was like pretty, not good, but I could like have somewhat of a conversation. Like I'd go adios Santos. Oh, hey, yeah, you're back. I was doing some sign language for you, adios. But no, it's very important, and kudos to Mrs. Claus over there.
It's important to speak anybody's language, whether it's deaf, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese. You'd have to learn. It's like saying goodbye in anything. Aviento, Avidazane, Avidin, Dewey, English, all that stuff. You have to learn basics for so that the kid understands you a little bit.
Yeah.
I
And adults
appreciate.
too.
I appreciate.
Listen, I'm gonna call it. I gotta have to call it quits, Matt, because I'm getting a little tired. I do have something I have to do important tomorrow.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
And Mrs. Claus says hi.
Well,
And
it's
if you ever
Christmas Eve.
write that movie, get Billy and Alexander to help you assistance in writing it, because I got
my
a feeling
buddies, they're
looking
my
at Billy,
dudes.
I can tell he's got that evil thought about Santa Claus ready.
Blending people up.
Violent Night would have been worse and probably much better than what it is right now. Just looking at Billy. Alexander, you'd be the comical part of it, I can tell, because you have that hat. That's
true.
it. And
I'll be the
Shane,
comical elf.
he
I'll
just
be
put the
his
porno in it.
sidekick.
We
Shane will do
can
the
definitely
soundtrack.
come up with something. We'll definitely come up with something.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward if you ever get it. And remember, my beard starts July 1st. So if you ever want to do that little growth in, grow out thing, all it takes is a few times going in, filming it, little bit of grow in, little bit of grow in, little bit of grow in, and then shaving it off.
Yeah.
When I shave it, I shave the sides. I shave here. I leave the
mutton
sideburns
chops?
on. I leave a goatee on. Then I'll shave the top part. I'll have the mustache and the goatee. I'll shave half off, shave the other half off. Just have fun with it, shaving it off. I left the sideburns on 1 year because I had a heart attack and they brought me back by paddle. Only once. Only once.
Yeah.
The defibrillator's done that 3 or 4 times. And the year I left the sideburns on, a friend of mine, we were doing Halloween, and I said, I left them on for the year.
Yeah.
And we were doing Halloween, and I said, "Can I borrow your Elvis outfit?" And I went as Elvis with the sideburns. The lady, I darkened my hair. I mean, I made it jet cold. Elvis was blonde anyway. Made it jet cold black, jet cold sidebeards, and sideburns. And I went as Elvis. And the lady said, "You'd win right now if you could sing as Elvis." And I stopped right there. I stopped at it. I could have sang. I really,
A hunka burning love.
yeah, I could have sang. I am a singer, but I didn't want to. The lady that won it really wanted to win, and I just backed off.
Yeah.
And I also went as Meatloaf too.
Rest in peace.
Huh?
Rest in peace.
I went as Meatloaf because of my weight. I put a vest on, the dungarees on, made the biker up because I am a biker. I got a 1300 and a 1600, and I went to what's the movie, Donna? I'm having a brain fart.
The
Meatloaf.
Wild Angels, one of the old biker
Nope.
movies.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went to the Rocky Horror Picture Show dressed as Meatloaf. I didn't win. If I had brought the saxophone with me, I would have probably won. But I pretty close. I mean, I had the duck
I
time.
would have voted
I'm
for.
gonna listen. I'm gonna let you go,
All right.
Matt.
Merry
Again,
Christmas.
Alexander, nice to
Thank
meet
you.
you, Billy.
Merry
Merry Christmas.
You're a great
Very
listener.
Nice meeting you, Don.
Santa
Okay.
Donn, thanks for popping in. I'll see you. I'll catch
Take
you
care.
later. Be good.
Merry Christmas. Happy
Merry
Hanukkah,
Christmas.
Ramadan, all that.
All that jazz.
Take care.
All right,
Thank
later.
Hey,
Dawn just brought up Rocky Horror Picture Show. Either of you gentlemen ever go to one of the theater where they did like the play where they do like the acting it out and stuff?
I wish I did. I mean, I had a lot of friends that did it. I discovered later in life that I didn't realize they were doing it when I knew them. But I hear it's amazing. I hear it's a real communal, experience, and I would love to check it out live.
I remember they had all the new people go up front before the movie started, and they put a balloon, they blow up a balloon, they put it between your legs, and then they go down the line and they pop the balloon, and it's supposed to be like popping your cherry for the first time you do the movie. And then it's really cool. And then, different times in the movie, they'll come out and do the dance numbers and act out different things. I seen it in East Bridgewater. RKO Army, I think, was the group that went in there. I seen this maybe 20 years ago. You know what I mean? And it was fun. It was a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Santa Donn in the fucking building. You know what I mean? We got a nice little inside scoop for everybody out there wondering what exactly is it like for a Santos Claus who's in the business, you know what I mean? I didn't know if we were getting the real Santa Claus or if we were getting somebody who, does the Santa Claus thing, and we got Santa Donn. And I think Santa Donn is better than Santa Claus. Now, it's the mafia style of Santa. A Santa Donn. I'm a Santa Donn. But that was fantastic stuff. Billy, you've been here before on the Christmas special. Alex, you have been here before on the Christmas special. We brought up dead kids. That made me laugh because we had 3 dead kids here from the Dead Kids of Derry. If you guys ain't hip to it, go check it out wherever you listen to podcasts for free or the Patreon page. You'll have this on the Patreon page. First crack at it will be right. You kind folks on the Patreon page. Anybody want to say anything else in closing for this big happy holiday Yuletide Christmas special?
So how long have you been recording?
Since 5 p.m., brother.
Since
That's
5 p.m.
2.5 hours on the dot, brother.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
I think that bringing in Santa Claus and Insane Shane McKane was an interesting vibe, interesting flavor, if they will. And it was good. Yeah, it was. I think Shane was a little didn't really want to go full Shane, which you don't want. When you got to do it spilling is all you're talking about sick kids. I don't like to hear about sick kids, just the dead kids. Dead kids are dead. You know what I mean? But sick kids are horrifying. The big kudos that I give to Don, I'll give him his flowers after he's gone, like a real man does. And doing it for the kids, man, is definitely it. That's why I was interested in if you're ever after hours doing it, because I would assume that if you have an experience with a kid, you see me comes up to you at your eating dinner thinking you're Santa, or you're walking out of there or whatever, and you leave them with a good positive vibe. That's more important than just going and sitting on the lap. Because even as a kid, I always really, go get. I don't think I've ever quite believed that the Santa that I was sitting on the lap was indeed the Santa. At least I don't. I wish the real Santa wouldn't act that way, if you know what I'm saying. But it's one of those things, So I think that stuff's more cool. And this, even even the symbol, even if you're an adult that don't believe in Santa Claus, like you said, you dealt with some a sick lady, which kind of makes me want to get teary-eyed right now. It's like it's like the whole more it's the whole thing, you don't believe in it, but you see Santa Claus and it brings you back to childhood and the hopefulness and like the good fun vibe of it. And it's very cool. Hearing that story was kind of cool because it was like, that's probably what she needed in a time like that. And I'm glad Santa Dawn could bring that to her. You know what I mean? But we've gone, yes, Bill, you're about to do a seance and raise off the couch. I'm waiting for your eyes to go back, go white, Saitanu style. But do you gentlemen want to say anything in closing? I guess not.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
Alex.
I mean, all I have to say is that it's been a great Christmas episode. We started with the guy who created Roger Rabbit himself, Mr. Gary K. Wolf, and talking about Christmas with him, having Santa Donn, having Insane Shane McKane and Billy, Dead Kid Dairy Brother with
Yeah.
us is always fun, and it was great listening to Santa Donn talking about the whole thing about being Santa. It's all about here. It's all about the heart, which is very important, and unfortunately, I think is one of the things that is lacking, especially I work retail and I see a lot of pretty much the heart of Christmas being overlooked for consumerism, for uh, and the spirit of Christmas is missing in a lot of places. But with Santa Dawn, it shows us that the heart of Christmas, the heart of Santa Claus, is out there,
Still beating,
and we
baby.
just
Still
have to
beating.
look for it.
The heart of Christmas is still beating.
Yeah,
I have something to say.
I'm
yeah,
down.
Billy.
There, Billy boy.
On a sincere and heartfelt note, Merry Christmas to all. On a secondary note, inside, always keep that child alive. Because when that child dies, you can't go back. Never lose that inner child where you can grab onto the mystique of nature, the beliefs of the holidays, and actually truly encapsulate them so it has meaning. And I think when you keep that kid alive inside, you will always enjoy movies a little more than other people. You will read things with a lot more enthusiasm, and you will feel more. Never let that kid die, because never become old and bitter. We can do that if we choose to, but we're lucky to be in a position as artists and filmmakers that we need that inner child still to persevere. And thank you, Maddie, for bringing me on to the tail end here. I really do appreciate it. And thank you, Alex, for looking like a house elf.
I do it for you, Billy. I do it for
Yes,
you.
yes, you do. And I know I joke. I know whatever I do a lot of goofy, zany shit, but I thought I would just be a little honest and sincere for a quick moment.
I'm happy you did, man. We love you, Billy. You're a good man. You know what I mean? And
Don't forget, hate is love subconsciously, and love is hate subconsciously.
oh,
I hate you all so very much, and you warm the depths of my black, icy heart.
and what else could you want for
Billy,
Christmas?
I've never wanted to hug you so much more in my life right now.
Oh,
Liar.
I want to do more than just hug Billy, if you know what I mean.
Ooh,
No, no, if anyone wants to touch me, you need to buy me dinner first. That's how it has to be.
I'm gonna buy a red suit just to get Billy to sit on my lap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and a little crushed velvet suit with white trim, and it's not just trim and capote.
Fuck yeah. Well,
Yeah.
stay young forever, man. Billy, that was probably the most beautiful thing I've ever heard you say on a show or off a show. So kudos for
Yeah.
that. I think that's really a great thing. And there's nothing else to say after that because it was such a high note, beautiful thing. And we hope everybody out there has a great Christmas and a happy new year, man. And we'll catch y'all on the next episodes of all our podcasts on the Boombastic Media Network. And much love to everybody. Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays. I gotta be more politically correct. Happy holidays
And Merry Christmas.
and Merry Christmas.